You may recall that in episode 34 of the Random Trade Review, I reviewed a Batman storyline called Hush that was drawn by artist Jim Lee. At the end of that episode, I mentioned that Lee's follow-up project would be doing artwork for a 12-issue Superman storyline called For Tomorrow. Now, this was part of a major rebrand across all three ongoing Superman titles. All three of them would be getting new creative teams. Most notably, Adventures of Superman would get writer Greg Rucka of Queen and Country and Gotham Central fame, and former Miracle Man artist Chuck Beckham would take over writing chores on Action Comics. Today's story has absolutely nothing to do with that. Instead, we're actually covering the build-up to that rebrand.
Yes, possibly to give the notoriously meticulous Lee a little bit of lead time, DC presented a fill-in stories, or to be more precise, 3 fill-in stories. The first, which took place in Superman issues number 199 and 200, had the Man of Steel encounter a new Supergirl named Sur-El, who claimed to be his daughter from the future. This was revealed to be the machinations of a group called the Future Smiths. Superman defeated the Future Smiths, but somehow got lost in the time stream. This will be followed by a 3-issue story spread across Action Comics, Adventures of Superman, and Superman, where Superman was still missing, and Metropolis would suddenly be graced by the appearance of Mr. Majestic, an analogous Superman character from Lee's Wildstorm universe.
Today, we're covering the storyline that followed that Mr. Majestic story arc. Now, this storyline is 6 issues long, but also spread across all 3 ongoing Superman titles, and it features artwork by artists from Michael Turner's Aspen Entertainment Studio. This is Superman Godfall.
In a Kryptonian kitchen, Kal-El has burned breakfast again in an attempt to make a romantic gesture to his wife Lila as she enters the room. Any morning love session, though, is interrupted by the playing of Con-Lar, a neighbor's child. Anyway, Kal has to get to work at the Kryptonian Central Government office, where he's a paper pusher who's basically cashed in on the popularity of his father Jor-El, the savior of the planet Krypton. As a news report about alien dissidents comes over the radio, Kal-El encounters a group of troublemakers on his Akira cycle. Somehow, Krypton's red sky then opens up, causing a beam of yellow light to break through. Suddenly, an intense red beam shoots from Kal's eyes, incinerating one of the hoodlums and causing loads of collateral damage. The dissidents scatter with their leader Boscott, vowing to get another strike, the son of Jor-El. Kal tries to play dumb as a unit from the Citizens Patrol Corps, or CPC, led by a man named Prius, arrives to survey the damage. Kal returns home and tells Lila what happened. She assures him that his mind was just playing tricks on him, and maybe it was just a blast from a CPC weapon that caused the explosion. However, it turns out that Boscott and his gang have pieced together where the House of El is located, and they crash through a wall, grab Kal, and toss him over a cliff, just as another yellow beam of light streaks through. Next thing Kal knows, he's flying. The commotion causes Con-Lar and his parents to come outside, causing Boscott to take the Lar family hostage. Kal-El swoops down and screams at Boscott to let them go. Kal screams so hard that the air coming out of his mouth begins to freeze. Unfortunately, Boscott manages to avoid the ice blast, leaving the Lar family to take the brunt. Kal tries to break them free, but the yellow light is gone, as are his powers. Lila and Kal-El flee as Kal is distraught for causing the Lar family's death. Afterwards, Prius arrives to inspect the crime scene and swears to bring the alien killers to justice. Kal and Lila head for the subterranean base of Terraforge, home of the galactic stabilizer constructed by Jor-El that prevented Krypton's destruction. Kal wishes he could somehow give this power up and make everything stop. Lila tells her husband not to worry as she begins to reach into Kal-El's brain and begins absorbing his powers. Literally. It's then that Kal-El realizes that every time Krypton is mentioned, it's actually been a cover for a completely different name. Kandor.
Kandor was once the capital city of Krypton, and because it was the capital city, there were a lot of dignitaries from other cultures that lived there, which is where the alien dissidents you've been hearing about come from. Now, at one point, longtime Superman foe Brainiac attacked Krypton and captured Kandor, trapping it in an extra-dimensional space and miniaturizing it. Eventually, Superman found Kandor in possession of an alien wizard named Tulos and wrangled control from it. Ever since then, Kandor has resided in the Fortress of Solitude, and Superman has made periodic visits. Now, Kandor is still under Krypton's red sun, so Superman doesn't have any powers while in there. Yet, still, the Kandorians have come to worship Superman as something of a god.
Superman's memories begin flooding back as Lila begins to absorb the Man of Steel's abilities. Newly powered, she reveals their true motives for bringing Kal-El to the Terraforge. It's an access point out of Kandor. Soon, a fully grown and restored Lila is out of Kandor and flying towards Metropolis. Back in Kandor, Superman awakens to find Boscott and his gang. Boscott reveals that Lila hired them to come after Kal-El, but didn't actually pay them. Superman offers to aid them after explaining everything, only for everything to be interrupted by Prius. Prius chases the group out of the Terraforge into another access point, where they give him the slip and exit Kandor. Meanwhile, Lila arrives at Metropolis, where she gets quite a bit of unwanted attention, primarily due to her lack of an outfit. After tearing up a city block, Lila spots the Daily Planet building. She crashes through the building's walls and into Lois Lane's office, where she breaks the news to Lois that Superman is dead.
Okay, to explain what was going on in Kandor, I have to encapsulate what was happening in the Superman line of books for a good year and a half to 2 years before this. See, DC Comics held a crossover event called Our Worlds at War that was focused primarily in the Superman line of books. Now, in Our Worlds at War, Earth was attacked by a being known as Imperiex, who was the representation of all entropy in the DC universe. Now, before Imperiex attacked, a futuristic version of Brainiac called Brainiac 13 traveled back in time from the 64th century to help upgrade Metropolis in defense of Imperix's attack, though in reality it was actually to make Metropolis a more lucrative target for Imperiex. Now, this transformed Metropolis into a literal city of tomorrow with technology that is just constantly upgrading on a regular basis. It changes like every other week. It makes it so advanced, that it's, like I said, a literal city of tomorrow. As this event was happening, basically Superman left Kandor in the hands of Kelex, a robot that was a recreation of a robot assistant that Superman's father Jor-El had on Krypton. In this time frame, a glitch happened in the extra-dimensional space that caused time to accelerate to the point that even though a year had passed outside in, well, Earth time, almost a millennium had passed in Kandorian time. And so that allowed for, well, the persecution of outside aliens and, well, all the jazz that's led into this.
Kelex explains what happened in Kandor to Superman as he and Boskut's gang race towards Metropolis. Time is of the essence, as the Kandorians will only be able to live on Earth temporarily before the air becomes too toxic. The group arrives just as Lila takes down Brainiac and prepares to take down the team of Metallo, Mr. Mxyzptlk, Imperiex, and Doomsday. All of this, however, is just a psychic construct as part of a mass hypnosis on Lila's part. Lois is even in love with her and doesn't even recognize Superman. She then explains the intervening centuries where Superman had vanished from Kandor. Kryptonian persecution of the alien population began to increase, and every night she prayed for the god Superman to return and set things right. These prayers somehow managed to pull Superman from the time stream and into Layla's home. However, once she made contact with God, she absorbed Kal-El's memories and realized that he was not a god and only powered whenever he was on Earth. She also used her psychic abilities to manipulate Superman. Kon-Lar and his family were not actually real, just psychic constructs. Layla then exited Kandor so that she could become the favored child of Earth. It's then that Boskut and his gang begin to succumb to Earth's atmosphere. All of this gets interrupted, though, by the sudden arrival of Prius, who's also managed to escape Kandor. Superman tries to stop Prius, only to be blasted down by some type of inverted heat vision, which is black instead of red. Boskut and most of his gang are taken out as Lila looks on. She's mystified that Superman is still helping those who turned his back on him. Finally, Lila enters the fray and grabs hold of Prius, hoping to manipulate him in the same manner that she did Superman. However, it turns out that Prius's CPC armor has special compensators built into it, which allows him to tap into Lila's powers and survive exposure to Earth's atmosphere. Prius promises to cleanse the Earth and make it pure as several tendrils begin to envelop Superman. However, Superman is able to muster up one last blast of strength and grab hold of Lila. This causes a power feedback and explosion that allows Superman to blast Prius away. Before vanishing, Lila apologizes and says that not everything can be made right, but some things can. In a flash of light, both Lila and Prius are gone. A few weeks later, and Clark Kent has burnt breakfast again, ruining a romantic surprise for his wife Lois. However, any impromptu love session is going to be cut short as duty calls. As Superman returns to Kandor, he's been making few visits over the weeks to try to set things right. It's slow but gradual, and things are beginning to get better, especially for the alien races of Kandor. However, he knows that both Lila and Prius are still out there, and Prius will want vengeance.
Spoilers, neither Lila nor Prius ever appeared in the Superman comic after this. Even after Kandor actually got freed from its prison and it became New Krypton, and, well, that's another story for a much, much later time. And it's kind of a shame, too, because one of the criticisms of mainstream comics that happened when this book was published was that there weren't a lot of new characters around. And here it is, a storyline that actually introduced 2 new characters, and, well, no one ever did anything with them. And that kind of leads to my overall thoughts on Superman Godfall. It's kind of a mixed bag. I mean, the story is still fairly relevant today. I mean, the idea of Kryptonian isolationism, let's face it, outright racism against alien races other than Kryptonians in Kandor, like I said, it's still relevant today. I do kind of like a lot of the supporting cast that is introduced in this. I do think there is potential with Lila and Prius and Boskut and all that group. And the fact that they didn't get used is, again, kind of a shame. And the artwork, for the most part, is pretty good, though I will acknowledge that Lila's outfit is really, really cheesecakey, and at least they make note of this in the storyline when she arrives in Metropolis. And that being said, also on the downside of this, Superman's other supporting cast it really feels neglected. Now, granted, I know they did this with the Majestic storyline. That was Superman not in Metropolis and dealing with that. And there is like one page with Lois Lane and Perry White talking about Clark Kent being missing, and it sort of infers that Perry knows that Clark is Superman, but there's just not enough of that. Maybe they could have actually put the Majestic storyline in this collection, and it would have made this feel, have a little bit more weight, for lack of a better term, and feel like it had a bit more grandness to it. But really, this just kind of screams filler. Like I said, this was building up to the Jim Lee Superman run, and nothing more, unfortunately. And because of that, I have to give Superman Godfall a C. It's just not required reading. It's not bad. If you do happen across a copy, you're not going to be terribly disappointed to it, but it just doesn't hold much weight, unfortunately. And with that, let's see what we'll be doing next time on the Random Trade Review.
Hey guys, got a request for the show? Check out my Patreon at patreon.com/sleepytimeforcatproductions. And if you like the video, give it a like, share it, subscribe, and ring that notification bell.